Okay, I want to get all these husbands, straight and everything. I said, okay, now, Nanny was married to Mr. Creighton first, and he had your mother, and then my mama later.
For decades, Carol Burnett made the world laugh with her warmth, humor, and unforgettable talent. But behind the bright lights of fame was a story that never completely left her heart. Now, at 93, Carol Burnett has opened up about the one man she says she never truly got over. Through success, heartbreak, marriage, family struggles, and personal loss, his memory remained with her. Fans have long wondered which relationship affected her the most, and why it stayed with her for so many years. Who was the man who left such a lasting mark on Carol Burnett's life?
I won't work with him. Someone who is totally unprofessional. By that I mean temperamental, who runs in slamming the door screaming, who is late, who has no feeling for the other performers.
Join us to find out. Joe Hamilton. Behind the bright lights and huge success of The Carol Burnett Show was a marriage that slowly lost its happiness. While millions of viewers laughed along with one of television's most beloved programs, Carol Burnett and Joe Hamilton were quietly facing problems that would eventually pull them apart. Their story began in 1960. At the time, Carol Burnett was a young actress building her career on The Gary Moore Show. Joe Hamilton was already an experienced television producer. He had worked on major productions and was respected throughout the industry. When they met at CBS in New York, there was an immediate connection between them. Their relationship grew stronger over the next few years. They enjoyed each other's company and shared many dreams for the future. In 1963, they married in California, in a small and private ceremony attended by close friends and co-workers. At the time, they seemed perfectly matched. Both loved television, both worked hard, and both believed they could build something special together. A few years later, their partnership reached a new level when The Carol Burnett Show premiered in 1967. The program quickly became a huge success. While Carol entertained audiences with her warmth, humor, and talent, Joe worked behind the scenes as producer and advisor. Together, they appeared unstoppable. For several years, their professional relationship worked beautifully. Carol brought creativity and emotion to the show, while Joe focused on organization and production. Their teamwork helped make the program one of the most successful shows on television. However, success often brings new pressures. As the years passed, the demands of running a major television program became greater. Long hours, constant responsibilities, and endless decisions slowly began to affect their relationship. By the middle of the 1970s, some people around the show noticed changes. Joe became more involved in every detail of production. He wanted to approve scripts, guest appearances, and many creative decisions before anyone else reviewed them. What had once been a partnership began to feel different. The growing tension became especially noticeable during production meetings. Joe preferred focusing mainly on comedy, while Carol believed the audience connected with both laughter and heartfelt moments. Their creative disagreements became more frequent, creating distance between them. At the same time, Joe spent more and more time away from home. Carol initially believed he was simply busy with work and new projects, but eventually, rumors began circulating around the television industry. In 1979, reports hinted that a well-known producer was spending considerable time with a younger colleague from an editing department in Los Angeles. No names were mentioned publicly, but many people believed they knew who was being discussed. Conversations and gossip spread throughout television circles. According to people close to Carol, hearing these rumors deeply hurt her. Even though she did not openly confront the situation, the stories created emotional pain and increased the strain already affecting the marriage. The situation finally reached a turning point in 1982. During a review of contracts and business agreements, Carol's legal team discovered information that shocked her. Joe had established his own production company and had registered several projects connected to The Carol Burnett Show under his personal ownership. One of those projects was Mama's Family, which had developed from a popular sketch associated with Carol's work. Yet, she was not listed as an owner of the property. For Carol, this was more than a business disagreement. She felt that something they had built together was being treated as though it belonged to only one person. The discovery created a deep sense of disappointment and betrayal. The conflict soon became impossible to ignore. What had once been a loving marriage and successful partnership was now filled with disagreements, hurt feelings, and growing distrust. In March of 1983, Carol officially filed for divorce. News of the separation quickly became national headlines. The breakup attracted enormous public attention because both were well-known figures in television. The divorce process was complicated. Questions about ownership, production rights, and future earnings became major issues. Both sides fought over assets connected to the Carol Burnett show and related projects. For nearly a year, the legal battle continued. Reporters followed every development closely. Newspapers and entertainment magazines covered the story almost daily. Meanwhile, Carol and Joe rarely communicated with each other. By June of 1984, a final decision was reached. Carol retained ownership of the show's title, while Joe received a share of the broadcast profits. The ruling finally brought the long legal dispute to an end. Although the divorce was finished, the emotional impact remained. The two people who had once shared dreams, success, and family memories were now moving forward separately. Afterward, Carol chose to distance herself from projects connected to Joe. Their professional relationship was completely over. Each continued on a different path. But this was the least of her struggles. Stay with us. Marlon Brando. Hollywood has always been filled with surprising stories, but some are so unusual that they sound impossible to believe. One of those stories involved Carol Burnett and Marlon Brando, two of the biggest names in entertainment during their time. Carol Burnett was known for making millions of people laugh through her successful television show. Marlon Brando, meanwhile, was one of the most famous actors in the world. After the release of The Godfather in 1972, his popularity reached an entirely new level. Audiences everywhere admired his talent, and his name was constantly in the headlines. Despite their fame, the two stars lived in very different worlds. Carol focused on comedy and family life, while Brando was known for his mysterious personality and unpredictable behavior. No one expected their paths to cross in such a strange way. One quiet summer night in July of 1972, Carol was at home in Los Angeles. The city had settled into silence and most people were asleep. Carol had spent the day working and was resting peacefully with plans for another busy morning ahead. Then, in the middle of the night, the telephone suddenly rang. The sound shattered the calm atmosphere of the house. Because it was so late, everyone immediately assumed something serious had happened. Calls during those hours usually meant an emergency. Carol was awakened and rushed to answer the phone. Still half asleep, she picked up the receiver and listened. What she heard next left her completely stunned. The voice on the other end belonged to Marlon Brando. At first, Carol found it difficult to believe. The situation seemed so unexpected that she briefly wondered if someone was playing a joke on her. But as the conversation continued, it became clear that it really was the famous actor. Brando explained that he had been watching reruns of her television show. He spoke warmly about her work and praised her talent. Carol politely thanked him for his compliments and expected the conversation to end shortly afterward. Instead, it continued. Minute after minute passed as Brando talked about acting, television, and life in Hollywood. He shared his thoughts on the entertainment industry and discussed the importance of performers who could connect with audiences. At first, the conversation seemed harmless. However, as time went on, Carol became increasingly uncomfortable. The discussion slowly shifted away from professional topics and moved into more personal territory. What had started as a surprising phone call was beginning to feel awkward and inappropriate, especially considering the hour. Carol listened respectfully, but she also knew she needed rest. She had work waiting for her the following day and did not want to remain on the phone any longer. Eventually, she ended the conversation in a polite but firm manner. After hanging up, she assumed the strange experience was over. Unfortunately, it was only the beginning. The next morning, stories about the late-night call started spreading throughout Hollywood. Rumors traveled quickly, and gossip writers became fascinated by the unusual situation. Before long, newspapers and entertainment publications were discussing the story. Headlines appeared suggesting that Brando had personally contacted the beloved television star during the middle of the night. As the rumors grew, so did the speculation. Many writers exaggerated details and created theories about the reason for the conversation. Some claimed the call lasted much longer than it actually had. Others suggested there was a deeper meaning behind it. The growing attention frustrated Carol greatly. She knew the situation was being misunderstood, and she worried that people would draw the wrong conclusions. What had been an unexpected phone call was now becoming a public spectacle. Determined to protect her reputation, Carol wanted the rumors stopped immediately. She had no interest in becoming the subject of gossip columns or Hollywood speculation. However, once a story gained momentum in the entertainment world, it was often impossible to control. Additional rumors soon appeared. Some people even claimed Brando tried reaching her again days later. Whether those reports were true or not, the gossip continued spreading. The entire situation left Carol deeply upset. She felt that important personal boundaries had been ignored. More than anything, she disliked the way the incident had become public discussion. The attention surrounding the story made her increasingly uncomfortable. As time passed, Carol decided the best solution was simple distance. Whenever industry events brought celebrities together, she made sure to avoid situations where she might encounter Brando. If there was a chance their paths would cross, she often chose another direction. People outside the situation sometimes viewed these actions as coincidence, but those close to her understood the real reason. Carol wanted no further involvement in the matter. Meanwhile, Brando reportedly viewed the incident differently. To him, it may have seemed like an ordinary conversation. But for Carol, the experience represented something much larger. It reminded her how important respect and boundaries were, especially in an industry where personal and professional lives often became mixed together. Harvey Korman. Among all the people who worked closely with Carol Burnett, few were as important as Harvey Korman. For years, he was one of her most trusted co-stars and closest creative partners. Together, they helped create some of the funniest moments in television history. Their chemistry seemed effortless, and audiences loved every minute they shared on screen. During the 1970s, The Carol Burnett Show stood at the top of television. Week after week, viewers tuned in to watch the talented cast deliver laughter and unforgettable performances. The show earned awards, attracted huge audiences, and became one of the most successful programs of its time. At the center of that success were Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman. They worked side by side, creating sketches that became television classics. Their timing was remarkable, and many people believed they were the perfect team. But behind the laughter and applause, problems were quietly growing. As the show became more successful, pressure increased. The demands of television were endless, and everyone involved worked long hours. Over time, some members of the production team began noticing changes in Harvey. People who worked closely with the cast said he seemed more frustrated than before. He often appeared irritated and less willing to interact with others backstage. The cheerful atmosphere that once surrounded him slowly began to fade. By 1974, The Carol Burnett Show had reached another major milestone. The series was enjoying some of its strongest ratings. CBS had renewed it for several more seasons, and the cast had received another important award. Everything appeared perfect from the outside. Yet inside the studio, tensions were becoming impossible to ignore. Many believed Harvey was struggling with the growing attention Carol received. As the star of the show, her popularity continued to rise. Some people felt Harvey worried that his own contributions were not receiving the same level of recognition. Whether those feelings were true or not, the strain eventually reached a breaking point. One afternoon, during a rehearsal at Studio 33 in Television City, Los Angeles, the cast was preparing a segment featuring singer Petula Clark. Everyone was focused on getting the performance ready. While rehearsing his scene, Harvey became upset over a lighting problem that left part of his face in shadow. What began as a small technical issue quickly turned into something much bigger. Frustrated, Harvey stopped the rehearsal and expressed his anger in front of the entire crew. The mood inside the studio changed immediately. What had been a normal working day suddenly became tense and uncomfortable. The director attempted to calm the situation, but Harvey continued voicing his complaints. As emotions rose, he suggested that Carol did not care enough about the problem. That comment changed everything. Carol Burnett had built a reputation for treating people with kindness and respect. She was known for remaining calm, even during difficult situations. But this time, she had reached her limit. She stood up and walked onto the stage. The room became completely silent as everyone watched. Without shouting or losing control, Carol made it clear that the behavior could not continue. Her words were firm and direct. She believed everyone working on the show deserved respect, and she was no longer willing to tolerate the growing tension. For a few moments, nobody moved. Harvey looked at her, then turned and walked away from the stage. No one followed him. The studio remained quiet long after he left. Cast members and crew sat in shock, struggling to process what had just happened. Few people had ever witnessed a conflict like this between two performers who had worked together for so many years. Carol remained seated for a long time afterward. The situation saddened her deeply because she never wanted things to reach that point. News of the incident spread quickly throughout Hollywood. Reports began appearing almost immediately, and entertainment publications discussed the dramatic rehearsal walkout. Rumors circulated everywhere as people tried to understand what had happened behind the scenes. For the next several days, the television industry buzzed with speculation. Despite the attention, Carol continued working. She focused on filming and refused to let the controversy interfere with the show. Those around her noticed that she remained professional, even though the situation had clearly affected her. Meanwhile, Harvey stayed silent. Then, several days later, everything changed. A phone call arrived at CBS. Harvey wanted to speak with Carol. When they finally talked, he admitted he had made a mistake and asked for an opportunity to return. The following day, he appeared before the cast and crew. Everyone waited anxiously to see what would happen next. Harvey apologized to the entire team. He accepted responsibility for his actions and acknowledged that he had lost sight of what truly mattered. But who was the person she couldn't get over? Let's find out. Cary Grant's remark. Hollywood in the late 1960s was a world filled with glamour, fame, and powerful personalities. Movie stars, television icons, and industry leaders gathered at elegant events where every conversation could become tomorrow's headline. It was during this exciting period that an unexpected moment created tension between two beloved entertainers, Carol Burnett and Cary Grant. At the time, Carol Burnett was enjoying tremendous success. The Carol Burnett Show had become one of television's biggest attractions. Viewers loved her warmth, humor, and ability to make ordinary situations feel funny and relatable. Her popularity continued to grow, and she was quickly becoming one of the most admired stars in entertainment. Meanwhile, Cary Grant remained one of Hollywood's most respected actors. Known for his charm, sophistication, and unforgettable film career, he represented the elegance of an earlier generation of stars. Audiences around the world admired him, and his reputation remained strong throughout the industry. In 1968, both stars attended a prestigious event at the Beverly Hilton. The ballroom was packed with famous faces from film and television. The evening celebrated achievement and success, bringing together some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Carol arrived looking confident and happy. The success of her show had given her plenty of reasons to celebrate, and she was enjoying one of the most exciting periods of her career. During the event, she decided to walk over and congratulate Cary Grant on receiving a major honor. What seemed like a simple and friendly gesture soon turned into something much different. As Carol approached, a conversation began around the table. Someone mentioned the incredible popularity of her television show and how audiences everywhere seemed to love it. The comment opened the door to an unexpected response. Cary Grant offered his opinion about the program. His words suggested that he did not fully understand the appeal of Carol's style of comedy. He viewed her performances as overly exaggerated and questioned why so many people enjoyed them. The atmosphere changed immediately. Guests who had been smiling moments earlier suddenly became uncomfortable. Some attempted polite laughter, while others sat quietly. The tension was impossible to ignore. Carol remained calm. Instead of becoming angry or creating a public scene, she answered with confidence and dignity. Her response was simple but powerful. It reflected her belief that audiences connected with authenticity and genuine humor rather than perfection. Afterward, she politely excused herself and walked away. The brief exchange might have ended there, but Hollywood rarely lets memorable moments disappear quietly. Within days, entertainment publications began discussing the encounter. Articles described the conversation and suggested that Cary Grant had dismissed the type of comedy that had made Carol one of television's brightest stars. As the story spread, reactions followed. Some people defended Grant, believing he had merely expressed a personal opinion. Others felt his comments unfairly criticized a performer who had worked hard to build a successful career. Television viewers quickly took Carol's side. Many fans admired her down-to-earth style because it felt real and relatable. They appreciated that her comedy focused on everyday people rather than glamorous characters. As support for Carol grew, letters poured in from viewers expressing admiration and encouragement. The situation gained even more attention when discussions about modern television comedy continued appearing in interviews and entertainment articles. Although no direct confrontation followed, many people believed the disagreement reflected two very different views of entertainment. One side favored polished sophistication, the other celebrated warmth, connection, and humor drawn from ordinary life. Throughout the entire controversy, Carol chose not to engage publicly. She did not attack Grant, argue with reporters, or try to defend herself through the press. Instead, she focused on her work and allowed her success to speak for itself. That decision earned her even greater respect. As the months passed, the Carol Burnett Show continued attracting huge audiences, ratings climbed higher, and viewers remained loyal. Her popularity only increased as more people connected with her unique style. Carol also continued creating characters inspired by everyday life. She portrayed women who felt familiar to audiences, bringing warmth and humanity to every performance. These characters became some of the most beloved parts of her show. When opportunities later arose that could have placed Carol and Cary Grant together professionally, she chose a different path. She remained polite and professional, but she preferred to focus on projects that matched her own vision. Grant never publicly revisited the incident, and the disagreement gradually faded from the headlines. Yet many people remembered it as a revealing moment in Hollywood history. Lorne Michaels. Few stories in television history have raised as many questions as the relationship between Carol Burnett and Lorne Michaels. Both became legends in comedy, yet their paths rarely crossed in a meaningful way. For decades, many fans wondered why one of television's most beloved comedians never appeared as a host on Saturday Night Live. When Saturday Night Live first premiered in 1975, it introduced a fresh style of comedy. The program was bold, fast-moving, and often focused on current events and politics. At the same time, Carol Burnett was already one of the biggest stars on television. Her variety show was a massive success and remained a favorite in homes across America. Although both programs focused on comedy, they approached it in very different ways. Carol's humor centered on warmth, memorable characters, and everyday situations. Saturday Night Live aimed for a younger and more rebellious audience. These differences would eventually become the center of a debate that lasted for many years. Soon after the launch of Saturday Night Live, some television critics suggested that Carol Burnett would make an excellent host. Many believed her appearance could connect two generations of comedy fans. It seemed like a natural idea. After all, she was one of the most respected performers in the industry. Behind the scenes, however, things appeared less certain. Reports later suggested that Carol's name had been discussed during the early years of the show. According to stories that circulated in television circles, the idea never moved forward. The reason often mentioned was that her style did not match the direction the program wanted to take. As the years passed, viewers continued asking the same question. Why had Carol Burnett never been invited? The mystery only grew larger. By the early 1980s, newspaper articles began drawing attention to the situation. Fans were surprised that a performer with such an impressive career had never hosted the famous comedy show. Many believed she deserved the opportunity. Letters reportedly arrived at NBC from viewers expressing their support for Carol. People admired her talent and could not understand why she seemed to be overlooked. Despite the growing interest, no major change occurred. Carol rarely discussed the matter publicly. She handled questions with grace and humor, choosing not to create controversy. Her calm approach only increased the respect many people felt for her. Meanwhile, Lorne Michaels remained committed to protecting the identity of Saturday Night Live. Those who worked with him often described him as someone who strongly believed in maintaining the show's unique style and direction. Because of this, the distance between the two comedy icons continued for many years. The topic resurfaced occasionally whenever television journalists looked back at important moments in entertainment history. Each time, people returned to the same unanswered question. At industry events, both Carol and Michaels sometimes appeared in the same room, but there was little sign of a close relationship. Observers often speculated about what each thought of the other, though neither publicly fueled the discussion. As time moved forward, Carol continued building her remarkable legacy. New generations discovered her work, and her influence on comedy remained undeniable. Her achievements spoke for themselves. Then, decades later, the subject returned once again when Carol was honored for her extraordinary career. During interviews celebrating her life in entertainment, she was asked about never hosting Saturday Night Live. Her response was calm, confident, and simple. Rather than showing bitterness, she suggested that neither side truly needed the other. It was a brief remark, but it immediately attracted attention. Many people saw it as her most direct comment on the subject after years of silence. The response sparked fresh discussion among fans. Some believed the situation should have been corrected long ago. Others felt that Carol's career had already proven everything she needed to prove. Through it all, Carol remained true to herself. So what was her life like afterwards? Stick around. Life's hardest moments. Behind the laughter, success, and bright lights of television, Carol Burnett lived a life filled with both joy and heartbreak. While millions of people knew her as a beloved entertainer, those closest to her saw a woman who faced difficult challenges with remarkable strength and grace. Family was always at the center of Carol's life. One of her daughters, Erin Hamilton, was born in August of 1968 and later pursued a career as a singer. Carol took great pride in her children and worked hard to balance her demanding career with her responsibilities as a mother. Not every chapter of her life was easy. In the mid-1960s, Carol experienced the sadness of losing a pregnancy during its early stages. It was a painful personal loss, one that she carried quietly while continuing her work and caring for her family. As the years passed, new challenges appeared. Her marriage to Joe Hamilton, which had once seemed strong and successful, gradually came to an end. In 1984, after many years together, the couple divorced. One of the difficulties affecting the family involved their daughter Carrie and her struggles with addiction. Rather than hiding from the situation, Carol and Joe chose a different path. They spoke openly about the importance of helping loved ones through difficult times. Their goal was not only to support their daughter, but also to encourage other families facing similar struggles. Together, they helped raise money for the treatment center where Carrie received care. Their commitment to helping others continued. In 1988, Carol and Carrie traveled to Moscow to assist in introducing the first Alcoholics Anonymous branch in the Soviet Union. It was an opportunity to support people seeking recovery and hope. Life brought another painful loss when Joe Hamilton passed away from cancer in 1991. Although their marriage had ended years earlier, his passing marked the end of an important chapter in Carol's life. During the 1980s, Carol also participated in a public awareness campaign for Medic Alert. Her involvement helped bring attention to the organization and its mission of assisting people during medical emergencies. Years later, happiness returned to her personal life. In November of 2001, Carol married Brian Miller, a talented drummer. Despite the difference in their ages, the couple built a strong and lasting relationship based on friendship, understanding, and mutual respect. Friendship remained one of the great blessings of Carol's life. Over the years, she developed close bonds with many well-known entertainers. Among them were Lucille Ball, Beverly Sills, Jim Nabors, Julie Andrews, and Betty White. She also shared a particularly special friendship with Vicki Lawrence, whom she mentored throughout her career. Even later in life, Carol continued putting family first. In 2020, she and her husband sought guardianship of her teenage grandson. She had already been involved in important decisions regarding his education and wanted to provide stability and support during a challenging period. For more than a year, Carol and Brian cared for him before responsibility later shifted to his caseworker. Throughout her life, Carol never forgot the kindness she received as a young woman. Years earlier, An anonymous supporter had helped her pursue her dreams when she needed assistance the most. Remembering that generosity, she spent years giving back to others. She contributed to scholarship programs that helped students facing financial difficulties. Later, she established a scholarship supporting talented undergraduate students studying musical theater. She also donated more than 140 awards, honors, and treasured career items so future generations could learn from her remarkable journey. Through every success, loss, challenge, and triumph, Carol Burnett chose kindness, resilience, and generosity. Her story is not only about fame, but also about the quiet strength that guided her through every stage of life. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.